Hello everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of the Fragrance League. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with it, I have just put up a video explaining it, and you can also go to the website, which is also going to be listed here, which will also explain the rules of the Fragrance League. Quick short summary, this is a competition where we're going to go ahead and pit reviewers against one another. It's all in good fun competition, and basically have them smell 5 random fragrances that I've sent them, and of these random fragrances they're going to go ahead and say whether or not they think it's a niche or designer fragrance and whether or not they think it's cheap or expensive. This is to just really test our noses, get a little bit of competition flowing within the fragrance community, and make it a little bit of a fun thing. So with that, let's go ahead and get started and dive right into the competition. We've got 3 reviewers here who are ready to go ahead and test their mettle. First 3 reviewers we have. First person was Joe Anthony, or is Joe Anthony. He's got a channel here. His channel is linked down below as well too. Second person, Notes Punch. His channel is reviewed down below as well too, or is linked down below, and you can go ahead and see the link somewhere here in the video that I'm going to go ahead and put it. And the third person is 860 Cologne, or Jason, who is the third person who is going to be competing. Now they're all competing against one another, and they're all competing against the entire league that we've got going out, so let's go ahead and make this a fun one. So let's go ahead and start off with the very first fragrance that I sent them as a sample. Again, they did not know what it actually was. The fragrance name is Memoir Liquide. I'm sorry, from the house of Liquide Memoir. Amour is the actual fragrance. This is what it actually looks like. Now, the fragrance is described, and I'm sorry I'm leaning in like this, I'm just going to read it off. Amour Liquide is one of 5 fragrances of the Memoir Liquide Reserve collection introduced in 2009. The fragrance brings us aromas of romantic love reinterpreted with notes of pure Madagascar vanilla, tonka, and incense, available in a 50 milliliter EDP. Now, this is a niche fragrance, and it is priced at, I think, around $95 for 50 milliliters. So this is considered an expensive fragrance. Again, niche fragrance and expensive fragrance. So let's go ahead and see what they actually thought about this.
What's going on, everybody? Joe here, and here is my options and entry for this awesome contest that Drakdot put together. So, which one is number 1? Number 1. Niche or designer, expensive, inexpensive. I'll say designer. I'm sorry, niche, expensive.
Hey, what's up guys? What's up Cody, Jason, Joe, and Becky? Hopefully I didn't forget anybody else. So this is number 1 here. Oh, very strong. Very synthetic too. Synthetic. That's not a good sign, right? Smells a lot like Aqua Zucro, to be honest with you guys. It smells like a mediocre version of Aqua Zucro, in my honest opinion. Very sweet cotton candy, vanilla with probably it's got like some fruity notes or something, or like sugary notes. I think it's designer and it's cheap, and let me just make it a little bit harder for me. I think probably it's pink sugar or Comptoir Sud Pacifique, vanilla and some other fruity notes or something else. Number 1, it's cheap and it's designer. Okay guys.
Hi everybody, 860 Cologne here with my guesses for Drakdot's Fragrance Off. Here we go with number 1. Number 1, I get a lot of caramel. This is definitely a big gourmand. It lasted a long time on me, and I want to say this is going to be niche but inexpensive or cheap. Okay?
Alright, so on Amour from the house of Memoir Liquide, we've got some interesting answers. Joe got it fully right, and he guessed correctly in the fact that it was a niche fragrance and that it was expensive. Notes, unfortunately, didn't get it right. He got both wrong. It wasn't designer fragrance, and it wasn't an inexpensive fragrance. Meanwhile, 860 Cologne got half right. It was a niche fragrance, but it was not an inexpensive fragrance. So what does that mean point-wise? That means that point-wise, Joe's got 1.5 head-to-head points for that, overall for that, and 2 total points for it. He got both right. Notes gets 0 points for it, while Jason gets 0.5 head-to-head points and 1 total point. All right. So with that, let's go ahead and move right into the second fragrance. Our second fragrance is from the house of Salvatore Ferragamo, a designer house, and the fragrance is Attimo pour Homme. Now this fragrance runs 3.4 for 3.4 or 100 milliliters. It's going to cost you about $84. So this is a designer fragrance, and it's on the inexpensive side. With that, let's go ahead and see what our reviewers thought of the fragrance. Before, let me go ahead and flash a picture of what the actual fragrance looks like.
Number 2. Designer, inexpensive.
Guys, here's number 2. So let's see. Number 1 already is filling up the room. Very strong. So hopefully I'll do well because I'm in it to win it. So let's just spray number 2 here. Very fresh. A little bit synthetic, not as synthetic as number 1, so probably it's a little bit more expensive. And it's got like, I don't know, like a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of spicy too, but it's fresh, green, spicy. But to me, it's very generic. It smells like a lot of fragrances at Sephora, like a lot of Gucci's, Versace's, all those designer fragrances. It just smells very similar, but I wouldn't think it's expensive or niche, honestly. Number 2. So here we go.
Number 2. This one I get a lot of pink pepper or some ingredient that's very common in designer fragrances. So this one, number 2, I'm going with designer and inexpensive.
Alright, so for Attimo pour Homme, all 3 reviewers guessed correctly that it was a designer fragrance, so nobody gets any head-to-head points. And, as well, all 3 reviewers guessed that it was an inexpensive fragrance. So, all reviewers get 2 total points for it. They guessed correctly on both. Everyone pretty much nets out even on the head-to-head points and also gets 2 points added to their score. Right? Pretty easy one, it seems like. They were able to tell that it was a designer fragrance and that it was relatively inexpensive. Excellent job, guys. Excellent job. Let's go ahead and move on to the third fragrance. Now, the third fragrance, I actually wanted to throw in a little bit of a curveball at them just because I figured, you know what, why not? What the hell? I actually thought maybe everyone was going to think this smelled like another fragrance. The fragrance that I had them smell for number 3 is Intoxicated by Kilian. If you've seen my review for Intoxicated, go ahead and look it up. Shameless plug. If you see my review, you'll see that I personally think that it smells almost exactly like Angel Men. So that's kind of the curveball I wanted to throw them. They probably have smelled Angel Men, and I figured maybe they're going to go ahead and associate it with Angel Men and think, oh, okay, I'm going to guess Angel Men and go from there. But hey, it's always curious to see what it is. Anyways, Intoxicated is from by Kilian. It's an expensive fragrance, so it's a niche fragrance, and it's also very expensive. $270 for 50 milliliters. All right. The description of Intoxicated is, and I hate moving forward to the camera like this, but either way, Intoxicated by Kilian is an aromatic, spicy fragrance for women and men, and this new fragrance was released in 2014, recently. It's got cardamom, nutmeg, cinnamon, and coffee. I'm laughing just because there's another reason completely that I'm laughing for it. But either way, here's what the bottle presentation actually looks like for the fragrance.
3. Designer inexpensive.
So guys, with my number 3, it's getting harder, especially I'm doing it back to back, and I really feel that the room. Here's number 3. There you go. Oh, this one is definitely niche. I love it, honestly. There's a big dose of cardamom. I would say, let me just say, the best cardamom note I ever smelled so far. I smelled coffee too, very good prominent coffee note. Hopefully I'm not mistaken, but I smell coffee and cardamom. Very spicy fragrance. I love it. I think it's very nice. And I'm definitely I am pretty sure it's niche and it's expensive. There's no way with that quality. So number 3, it's niche and it's expensive.
Number 3. This one has like a woody aromatic vibe to it. It's kind of nice. There's something in there that I think I've smelled before. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I'm gonna say this one is niche and expensive.
Alright, so first guy, Joe, unfortunately he was incorrect. He guessed that it was designer and inexpensive. So unfortunately, Joe doesn't get any points for this. For this fragrance, sorry. Second person, Notes, guessed correctly. He guessed that it was a niche fragrance and that it was expensive. Interestingly enough, he picked out some notes from the fragrance as well too. Excellent job. And Jason guessed that it was a niche fragrance and expensive as well too. Kudos, excellent job, Jason or 860 Cologne. So for point wise, sorry, I had a little bit of a sneeze type episode there. Joe gets no points. Sorry about that, Joe. Notes gets 1 head-to-head point, and he gets 2 total points. And Jason, or 860 Cologne, also gets 1 head-to-head point and 2 total points. Again, just because they both would have gotten 0.5 head-to-head points for each of the items since they tied on both of them. That's how they got the points. Anyways, I explained the points later, or before in the other video. So you can go ahead or just ask down below. So let's go ahead and move on to the next fragrance. Now the next fragrance, number 4, I kind of wanted to throw a loop just because it's more of a little bit of a recent release as well too. And it's a tricky one because it's from the house of L'Occitane. It's Cade from L'Occitane. The fragrance name is Cade from L'Occitane. Here's what the actual bottle and description looks like. Now, this fragrance is a designer fragrance, and it retails for about $55 for 100 milliliters. So what does that mean? That means that the fragrance is a designer fragrance and it's inexpensive. So with that, let's go ahead and see what our reviewers thought of this fragrance.
Number 4. I'll say niche, inexpensive. I honestly don't know with that one though. That's really my Hail Mary attempt.
Here's number 4, guys. First of all, let me just show it to you. Okay. The bad part about when you just like sniff all those fragrances back to back in a competitive way like this, even though it's fun, it could mislead you into something else. But here's number 4. Number 4 is nice. I like number 4. Very woody, very nice woody fragrance. Cedar wood. I get a lot of spicy as well. Have a rubbery feel out of it. I could be wrong, but it's very woody fragrance, and with that quality there, I'm pretty sure it's niche and it's expensive. There's no way. Number 4, it's niche and expensive with that woody, spicy. So what's up,
Number
guys?
4. This one, I think it has a vetiver similar to the vetiver in Kenzo Woody, Kenzo Boisé. It's a well-blended fragrance. I'm going to say this is designer, but on the higher end. I'm going to say just barely expensive.
Alright, so for Cade, it is... first, we've got Joe, who thought that it was a niche fragrance and inexpensive. So, Joe was incorrect on the niche or designer, although may get some arguing on this one. And he was right on the fact that it was inexpensive. Now, Notes, on the other hand, was he guessed that it was a niche fragrance and that it was expensive. So, unfortunately, Notes is wrong on both counts. And 860 Cologne guessed that it was a designer fragrance and that it was an expensive designer fragrance. So Notes, of 860 Cologne is half right. So what does that translate out to? Joe gets 1 head-to-head point and 1 total point, whereas Notes gets 0 points. Jason, or 860 Cologne, gets 1 head-to-head point and 1 total point for that fragrance. Now moving on to the last and final fragrance. We have a fragrance that I want to throw in. A pretty interesting one. This one is... Actually, it skipped my fine mind for a second. I had to actually look on that. But it's Spice and Wood from the House of Creed. Now, this one is definitely an expensive fragrance. Let me go ahead and show you what the bottle looks like for this fragrance. So, as you can see, this one, it's $740 for a 8.4, which is well over, $90 for a 50 milliliter. It's way expensive. So, it's a niche fragrance and it's expensive. I also wanted to see just what they would think if they actually came across a Creed, and I wanted to choose a Creed that was a little bit less well known, but to go from there and see what happened. So, this is what they thought.
Now for the last one, number 5. Niche. Expensive. So there's my thoughts. Thank you all.
Guys, let's move on to the last one, number 5. There you go. Now it's gonna be easy. Why? Because I smell quality. I was afraid because like my nose was getting a little tired. But this one is beautiful. Right off the bat, tobacco and wood. Very nice tobacco and wood with a citrus opening. Very nice tobacco, very nice wood. There is no freaking way this one is a designer, nor cheap. This one is expensive and niche. Beautiful tobacco, woody, a bit spicy fragrance. Very nice. I love number 5. Number 5, it's niche and it's expensive.
Number 5. This is a nice fragrance. This one would probably be the one that I might wear the most out of all of these. And I gotta say, I don't think I've owned any of these fragrances. If I have, I'd be really surprised, or I might have a sample of one, but I don't think I've had any of these before. Watch me have all of them in my collection. But Number 5, I think, is going to be niche and expensive. All right? Thanks a lot. This was a great idea, and I will talk to you soon.
All right, sorry about that, guys. There's a little bit of technical difficulty, and I can't really go back to my webcam. I think it kind of exploded on me. It's like the second time it's happened. Maybe time for a new one. But either way, the results for the last question. Everyone got it right. They all guessed niche and expensive right off the bat. I guess you can tell Creed quality. Some people are going to start flaming. Who knows? Who cares? But either way, since everyone got it right as far as niche and expensive goes, nobody gets a head-to-head point, but everyone gets 2 total points added to their score. So for the final score, 860 Cologne, it comes out the winner overall in this because he's got 2.5 head-to-head points, and he's got 8 total points. Joe comes in second. He's also got 2.5 head-to-head points, but he also has 7 total points. And Nose Punch comes in third place. He's got 1 head-to-head point total, and he's got 6 overall total points. So, it's a long season, everyone. I plan on holding this for a couple months, so each fragrance reviewer is at least going to get like 3 to 5 different matches against other reviewers. It's really going to mix it up and really going to be nice. It's going to be... I can't wait. Anyways, overall, I'm really surprised at how well everyone did. There were a lot of things that caught me by surprise, especially getting the fact of intoxicated, picking out that you were smelling a niche fragrance, or a really nice niche fragrance at that, with Creed Spice and Wood, at least in my opinion. So there were a lot of pleasant surprises that I really enjoyed and really liked for it. Okay? So with that, congratulate your winners. You can check on the web pages for the overall scores, and I'll also have the upcoming fragrance reviewers who will be, you know, competing against one another and everything like that. All right? Anyways, let me know what you think of the competition. Let me know ways you think you might be able to improve on it. Although, as far as some improvements go, I'm going to try and be fair to all of the reviewers that are in here. All right? And also, if you want to donate, feel free. Get in contact with me, and I'll provide weekly updates to the increase in prizes and whatnot. All right? And also, review each of the reviewers' channels. Congratulate them. They've done a great job. And I can't wait to see everyone on the next video. All right? Take care, everyone, and have a great time.